Hi everyone, I'm Zach Reinhardt, and I hope you guys all had a happy new year and a good holiday season. But now that 2015 is over, I figured that since I review Japanese music, I should probably put out a top 10 Japanese albums of 2015. I feel obligated, and I also thought it might be fun. So let's just get right into it. Coming in at number 10 is Kawaguchi Takahiro and Kawasaki Yuta, who have put together a collaborative album called Amorphous Spores. This is a just really fucking weird kind of noise album. It's all instrumental, and it's made up of kind of freak out noisy electronics and a lot of homemade instruments. One of them kind of sounds like a show combined with a saxophone. It's some interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm not really entirely confident if this record is good music. But when I was looking back on records and compiling this list, this one really, like, I remember it vividly, and it was a just incredibly strange journey of an album. Moving on, at number 9 we have Dempagumi Inc. with WWDD, which I can only assume stands for What Would Dimpa Do? But Dempagumi Inc. is I believe, Akihabara-based idol group. They've been putting out singles like mad, and as a result, half of this album was out before the album was out. But while I'm not typically a very big fan of idol music, and I think there are a lot of problems with modern J-pop, I think this record kind of goes light on what I hate about idol music and goes pretty heavy on what I like about idol music. It doesn't take itself very seriously. It's bombastic, it's colorful and explosive, and while it is kind of cutesy on the vocals, it also has some fairly quality singing mixed in there as well, as there are 6 singers. Definitely the best idol album that came out this year. Coming in at number 8, we have the new Group A album, 70 plus A equals. I just reviewed this album a few weeks ago. It's a kind of dark and kind of gothic, cultish, industrial electronic album. It's kind of freaky and strange and very repetitive in it, these kind of like looping synth grooves, but it has a lot of very intense energy, and I feel like that's its strongest point, and is what makes it definitely worth a listen. Then at number 7 we have the new Hikashu album, Ikitekoi Chinmoku. Hikashu's been around since the 70s. They're kind of known for being a just weird, kind of new wavy band. But there's a lot of live instrumentation. There's a lot of piano. There's guitar, bass, and drums. And there's a lot of saxophone that appears on here, coupled with the typical Hikashu electronics and theremin and kind of over-the-top kabuki theater-esque vocals. The album contains songs that are these kind of slow, avant-garde kind of anti-ballads with kind of improvised saxophone and guitar noise on top of it, but it's never abrasive. to listen to. It's all very kind of easygoing for as strange as it gets. And it also has some more kind of accessible poppy tracks with verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And there's one song that I swear, like, if it was any other band, it would be a really good progressive rock song. But since it's Higashu, I just can't quite call it progressive rock. It's definitely a journey. Then, coming in at number 6, we're halfway through, is Bokutachi no Iru Tokoro, who have a new album called, let me get this right, Kono yo ni umareru Kitakoto ga Somo Somo Machigaidattakara. I'll put it in the description, like typed out in Romanji, if you're wondering what the hell I just said. It's a hell of an album title, and it's a hell of an album as well. It's a collection of high energy rock and punk songs with a kind of bluesy vibe to a lot of them. But the real focal point and highlight of the album is the vocals. They have a female vocalist, and I'm horrible for not knowing her name. The record's right upstairs. I could just look it up. But she has a very kind of almost cutesy vibe to her voice when she's being very soft. But when she gets more intense, she really kind of explodes into an almost operatic rock singer. She really drives the record from front to back. And I love the record. I had a ton of fun listening to it throughout the year. Coming in at number 5 is Boys Age with one of the 7 albums they released this year. Boys Age has been on a album spree since they formed, really. They've put out, God, I think they formed in like 2012, and they've put out like 25 albums since then, or something ridiculous like that. And 2015 has been a particularly busy year for them. On a Boys Age record, you're getting a lot of lo-fi indie pop rock with a lot of really high quality songwriting and really just fun melodies. They really explore like every nook and cranny of the kind of lo-fi indie pop spectrum. Sometimes they get very noisy. Sometimes they're very kind of sweet and contained, but they always feel like they're in the room with you when you listen to a Boys Age record. It feels like you're in a tiny little coffee shop with the band. And that is a feeling that I don't get very often with a band, and that kind of intimacy. And I feel like it's something to be cherished. And also, they're just quality songwriters. At number 4, we have Sayo with Scum Left, Scum Right. Sayo is a 2-piece rock and punk band that is rather unique in their instrumentation, not because it's weird instrumentation, but because it's guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, and they only have 2 members. Their bassist plays a kick drum and a hi-hat with his feet while he plays bass. And the guitarist does most of the singing, but the bassist does sing as well occasionally. And they aren't afraid to throw a kazoo on the record. Scum Left, Scum Right is a collection of kind of minimal, repetitive, weird grooves with shrill, high-pitched vocals that do some really just high energy, in your face rock music, despite how kind of skeletal their songs all are. It was one of the best indie rock albums of 2015. Coming in at number 3, we've got all the new Batman Wink stuff. All Babies Sleeping and Good Pops. If I had to choose one, I'd say All Babies Sleeping was probably the better album. But they're both fairly similar, though Good Pops is a bit cleaner on the production. But Batman Winks has really started to kind of rise in their little indie scene in Tokyo this year with both of these records, and they toured opening for Waikiki Beat, and they put out just some of the weirdest and best pop music this year. They're kind of in the same vein of indie pop rock that Boys Age is, but they're just a little bit stranger. The songs are all kind of awash with effects, and the vocals are mumbled and completely unintelligible, all sung in kind of broken English. But the songs are all still very accessible and poppy, despite all this. Most of the songs are like 2 to 3 minutes, and both of these records they came out with are well under a half hour. But they were really a highlight for the year, and I listened to All Babies Sleeping who knows how many times this year. And then when Good Pops came out, I listened to that a whole bunch. Probably my favorite indie band of 2015. Then, number 2 is the new Oresama record, Oresama. Now, if you're one of my 4 subscribers, you may remember that I reviewed this record and only gave it a 7.5 out of 10. And I think that review still stands for kind of sitting down with the record and listening from front to back. But that's not how I've been listening to the album. I've been just having it on in my car and just skipping between songs at random and listening to it like that. When I was putting together this list, I kind of realized that this is the album I've listened to the most since it came out, and it's my pop album of the year. It's high fidelity, very cleanly produced pop music, but it's just done so damn well, and I love the record, and I'm going to be listening to it for months to come, just nonstop in my car. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have the new Takashi Hattori record, Moon. Moon is a collection of songs, some of which were intended for a film called Technology that's coming out later in 2016. And also some songs that were just original songs that Takashi Hattori had made. This record was apparently inspired by Hattori's trip to India and his kind of falling in love with their traditional music, which can very obviously be heard on this album. And there's also some other influences, like there's definitely an influence from gagaku, which is a kind of ancient traditional Japanese court music. And all this very old traditional world music comes together with these very futuristic, kind of freaky, sometimes very noisy synthesizers. And it really is a fusing of old and new sounds. There's a lot of live instrumentation mixed with the electronics, and there's a lot of kind of freaky effects. There are these incredibly slow, soft, and very pretty songs. And there are also these very aggressive, and in your face kind of synth freakouts with saxophone and all manner of different instrumentation. And it really is a just big melting pot of different influences, from rock to world music to drone and ambient. It's a hell of an album. It really explores a huge amount of territory, but it all fits together very seamlessly. And I feel very safe in saying that this was a 10 out of 10, and it was the best album that I heard all year. So yeah, that's my top 10. I'll leave the list down in the description with links to where you can give these a listen. And yeah, thanks for watching my top 10 list. I'll be back in a couple weeks with my first review of the new year. So yeah, see ya.